Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society in general. I am Father George Ehusani, and I have with me in the studio today one of the participants at our workshop on sexual and gender-based violence, how to eliminate sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria. And a community activist is here. His name is Henry Kelechukwu.
Yeah, Kelechukwu.
Henry Kelechukwu from Anambra State.
Yeah, from Anambra State.
So he's an activist, he's an IT specialist, but a community activist, and he has come to look Terra for training on eliminating sexual and gender-based violence. Welcome to the studio, Henry.
Yeah, thank you, Father George.
Now, they wanted to have a chat with you on what has your experience been, this whole thing. In recent times in Nigeria, we have had serious issues with gender-based violence. I mean, we have had people pouring acid on others. We have had people cutting the manhood of others. We have had people battering their wives to death. We have had people committing suicide on account of what they are suffering at home. Then we have the horrible cases of women being trafficked, young women being trafficked to Saudi Arabia, to any of these Middle Eastern countries, where they are put through unimaginable torture and trauma. Then we have the case of nannies, house girls and nannies. You bring some poor 10-year-old, 12-year-old girl from the village, and then now expect so much of the child, whereas you have your own 10-year-old child. Then you make this person almost like a slave. I mean, a lot of house girls in a lot of our homes are pretty much like slaves, and violating all the things about child rights. Minors who are put through very hard labor, What is your own experience in the Southeast, or even Nigeria as a whole, on these abuses, the abuse of girls, poor girls, not rich girls, poor girls, abuse of poor women, and then abuse of wives. I mean, there's a lot of wife battering, even though there's also some husband battering, but a lot more wife battering. What's your experience, where you're coming from?
Thank you, Father George. The issue of sexual-based gender violence is actually a menace in Nigeria as we speak today. It have eaten deep into the society so badly that it's something that there should be a declarance of state of emergency on it currently. In the Southeast, where I'm coming from, there are a lot of gender-based violence going on. A lot of them against women, against people with a disability, against even men also, and child abuse also going on. I have opportunity and the privilege of working with a lot of organizations as a volunteer in the area of OVC, that is orphans and vulnerable people. I have opportunity working with them. We have seen a lot of these kind of experiences where husbands beat their wife simply because maybe she doesn't have a male child, simply because maybe little things, or not taking permission from him as a husband before she uses money to take care of her siblings, or maybe help the mother, the father,
Well, that is her own money.
Her own money.
Before she uses her own money to support
her siblings. And we have heard of such cases even in other parts of Nigeria too. We have heard of such cases even in other parts of Nigeria. So we have cases of maybe a widow that lost her husband, because we work there is one of the projects I volunteered to called into mitigation of HIV and AIDS, impact of HIV and AIDS. There are a lot of such women that have lost their husband, maybe in the case of HIV or whatsoever, accident and all of it. And you discover that the relations of the husband will maltreat this woman, will strip her of all her husband's belongings, take everything away from her, and leave this woman to begin to suffer for the children that she bore with her deceased husband.
Yeah, I mean, I hear these stories. They sound like fairy tale to me. Luckily, I come from a place where some of these things don't go on. I mean, I've never heard the story of a husband dying and the relations, the brothers, siblings of the husband coming and chasing out the wife. I hear those stories, and it's like, Where? How is it possible?
Yeah.
And then the next questions to ask is, these people don't fear God. What kind of culture is that?
Father, in my place, they used to say something that when an abnormality crosses a year, 6 months, a year, 2 years, becomes a tradition.
A tradition.
A tradition, yes. I will agree that possibly there is no written law anywhere that this kind of things, that allows them to do this. But because this kind of practice, people have been getting away with it. It keeps happening. People get away with it each time it happens. So that is the reason why, even in today's world,
it is still happening.
It's still happening.
I mean, I hear of husbands dying. Doesn't matter what they died of. Husbands dying in the prime of their lives, and siblings coming, taking over the house, chasing out the woman and the little children, taking everything, car, TV, bed.
Yes, sir. In one of my community activities, sir, I know of a woman who went through this torture. She was chased out of her house. In fact, she took us, we the volunteers, she took us to her where she was supposed to live, as a house she built with her husband while the husband was alive. And where she was chased to live, in a security house.
In the same compound?
In the same compound, actually. In a security house. Without windows, without doors.
Now, is this that kind of example you have given? Is it that they accuse her of the work of killing the husband? Is that some kind of superstition accused that maybe she's the one who killed the husband and they are punishing her for it?
Actually, I don't know what their interior motives are, because possibly it might be at the back of their mind. But when we approach them to know the reasons why they did such acts, their reasons was that, okay, they needed the husband's siblings that are male children to occupy the main house, while in her mourning stage she should remain in that security house to mourn her husband. But I can tell you, Father, that that is their own tactics of chasing this woman out of the house. Eventually.
So they decide, they want to be the one to decide how a woman will mourn her husband.
That is the case.
Now, this is one of the dimensions that they call tradition, which is actually oppressive.
Oppressive, yes.
How a woman loses her husband, that is bad enough. It's psychological trauma. It's pain. Then she is the next of kin. She is the principal mourner. And some other people want to come from elsewhere to tell her how to mourn her husband. So it's something we need to speak against, work against, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. These are the situations we find in the communities. These are situations we find in the communities.
The issue
we have a lot of enablers to this tradition.
Enablers like?
Enablers like the community leaders. Because like in some cases, when we go for advocacy in such situation, you find out some elderly men that will defend it and tell you that this is how they have been doing it in this community.
What about the women, the elderly women and the elite women in that society? What are they doing about it?
Yes, sir. I can tell you that some of these women are part of the enablers.
Oh.
Some of them are part of the enablers because there are situations we have seen where a woman lost her husband. In the course of mourning the husband, the burial of the husband precisely, she was being forced to scrape off her hair. It was the women who led that action.
And it is the women that will shave the hair.
And it's the women that will shave the hair. Many of them will be insulting this woman for even resisting them at the very first instance.
Now, is it for women to not only accept this evil culture, but to be the one that actually superintend the shaving of the hair? Is it a case of they have accepted a second-rate status for themselves in the culture?
Yeah, I can say, I partially agree with you, because many of them have accepted that this is how it have always been. So shall it remain. In the days of our parents, in the days of our mothers, this is how it have always happened. Therefore, nobody can come at this stage to change these things for them. So possibly they have accepted their states.
So the lack of critical thinking among them, among the women, to say that are we not supposed to share equal dignity? Why would they do this to us? How come when a woman dies, the husband is not bound to shave his hair?
That is man's superiority to women, sir, that they preach in the communities, and these are the things we are fighting against.
Yeah. So this project of eliminating sexual and gender-based violence you believe is a very critical one?
Yes, sir. It's actually coming very timely. And I want to appreciate Terra's Foundation for the approach they are taking. Because coming from the angle of Christian base, is actually giving a serious impact on this struggle.
Since people claim to be Christians or Muslims?
People claim to be Christians and Muslims. You know, and I also want to applaud you guys for bringing in a lot of stakeholders of the religion to be in the forefront of this fight against sexual and gender-based violence.
Yes.
Honestly, the program is timely and the training is very rich, and we have learned a lot of approaches to use, because like from one of the teachings that we received, that human rights are just fundamental. Human right is fundamental. We don't inherit it because we are Nigerians.
No.
It's not given to us because the UN says so.
No.
It's not given to us because maybe the ECOWAS status says so.
No.
But it's because we are humans, created by God.
Yes.
There are things that are fundamentals to us.
Yes. And that it is equal, whether it is for male or female. Precisely that you are human.
Because you are a human, these things are supposed to be fundamental to you.
Yes. So whether it's a male child or a girl child, we have it equally.
We have it equally, sir. Yes. And I think yesterday, while I was opportune to lead a group discussion that we had, I implore my fellow participants that one of the best ways that we can be able to achieve this result is when we begin to apply these things from our personal lifestyles.
Correct. Beginning
from our family.
Yes.
How do you see your wife? How do you treat your wife? How do you manage your wife? In your own eyes, is your wife lower or on the equal pedestal with you?
Correct.
How do you see your male and your female children?
Do you see the male as higher?
Do you see the male more superior than the female?
Yes.
Or do you see them on an equal pedestal? In fact, I asked one question. I said, if you own a company and want to do a recruitment,
yes,
then you have 20 applicants. 5 of them are female and 15 are male. And these female, 5 of them have first class. And the male folk have second class and third class. On what basis are you taking your recruitment? Is it on merit or is it on gender base? These are the issues that the society is supposed to be talking about currently.
So it must begin from home. Because a lot of what translates to sexual and gender-based violence outside already started from when the children were growing up.
Yes, sir. You know, as a matter of fact, Father, I am a crusader of the family. I believe that if the family is properly built, I believe that if the family is properly structured,
yes,
the society at large will fall in place. Correct. Automatically.
Correct. So everything begins from the family.
The home.
We are complaining about, in the society, we are complaining about our leaders. We are complaining about our politicians. We are complaining about even pastors. We are complaining about. But all that is coming from the cradle.
Yes, sir.
The family is the cell of society. If you walk, it's like planting a tree and the roots. If you don't take care of the roots to be strong and to be nourished properly, what kind of tree are you going to get?
So when we try to express some of these things with experience we have had in communities and my years of counseling in one of the Pentecostal churches, I've been a counselor in one of the Pentecostal churches for the past 12 years now. So I can come to a conclusion that majority of the problem we have, call it gender-based violence, call it wife battering at home, call it whatsoever category you want to give to it, sir, comes from the home.
Yes, we have 4 broad areas.
Which
Child
is
abuse.
Child abuse.
Sexual violence, domestic violence, right? And gender-based
violence.
Gender-based violence is that this person is suffering this precisely because it's a man or a woman. Child abuse is that the person is put through either sexual or physical abuse because he has not reached the age to say no.
No.
Or it's been made to work in a factory at the age of 9
to support the family.
That's child abuse. Or it's been physically abused or sexually violated. That's child abuse. So all these areas you are saying, the root is
from the home. From the home, because I want to believe that a lot of cases I have seen, there are a lot of marriage issues I have handled in course of my counseling work in the Christendom.
Yes.
Majority of these cases, sometimes when we want to come back to the roots, to ask some certain questions, you realize that the same issue the person, maybe a wife is passing through from the husband. If you trace to the root, you find out that the mother to the husband passed through the same issue with her own husband.
With his father.
With his father.
Wow.
With his father. So I now summarize it to be that if you want a better society, let us build a better family.
Otherwise, your child is going to do worse than you for his wife.
Otherwise, your child is going to do worse than you when he grows to that age.
I mean, it is something that has puzzled me for a long time. How a child will watch his mother being abused by his father, being battered by his father, being terribly treated very terribly, in a very sad, callous manner by his father. A child at the age of 2, 3, 4, 5 will watch this and feel very angry about his father. How come that same child, 25 years after, marries a wife and is treating the wife in exactly the same way, if not worse than what he witnessed? What he witnessed, and he was very angry. It's just that he couldn't take something to hit his father at the age of 5, 6, 7. He was very angry. But how come that this child grows up and begins to treat his wife in exactly the same way or worse? What do you think is responsible for this?
Yes, sir. I think this is where this issue of training that we have been we are having comes in. That is why I said earlier that I applaud Luxera Foundation on that basis, because the issue of trauma that is being discussed in the training, and which Luxera actually have a particular training for, comes to play. Anyone who is a survivor of such incidents need to go through a section. You know, in this part of the world, we don't really emphasize or give reverence to the places of therapists, mental health counselors, and maybe psychologists to help us heal through a process. Sometimes when we just overcome some certain issues, or maybe we have outgrown it, or maybe come out of depression, we tend to feel that we are already healed and move on.
But it is there.
But it's there, waiting for something to trigger it up. So these are the issues that plays out.
What you are saying is that this child, this person who was a child and witnessed this violence from his father, is actually doing the same thing to his wife because he suffered trauma that has not been healed.
Yes, sir. Sir, I am of the school of opinion that believe that whosoever that goes through any form of trauma is expected to go through a healing process.
And if he doesn't go through a healing process,
he is bound to repeat that cycle.
So that's why we have, for our trauma healing training, our motto is healed people heal people. What it means, therefore, is wounded people they wound others.
Yes.
So if healed people are the ones who heal people, then wounded people are the ones who go around wounding others.
That is right.
I mean, we said in class earlier that a lecturer who is callous and wicked towards the student says, You can't get your master's through me so easily. I know how many years it took me to get my master's.
That is the result of trauma at play.
So what are you going to do now? I mean, we are still in the midst of the training, but when you finish, what are you hoping to do when you go back?
With the trainings I've been getting, so far, I can tell you that my community work is going to take a different look. It's going to take a different turn. You know, because I see this process as a re-equipping process,
And empowering.
an empowering process.
Mm-hmm.
I have learned, I have unlearned, I am relearning.
Correct.
I am relearning.
That's what education is.
You know, it have given me an insight to, most especially in the psychosocial aspect of support to victims and survivors of this menace.
And we are going
You know,
to
and I have now seen the importance of bringing the Christian standard
into it.
into this community work, because in my experience over the years, I have also discovered that a lot of us, even though some of us that are social workers, still have this trauma issue going on in us. So it now looks like the issue of preachers of follow my words and don't follow my
Because
my ways.
you can have an activist who is abusing his wife.
That is exactly the
He's an
the
activist.
situation.
Maybe he's an activist on HIV, orphans and vulnerable children. He's an activist out there, but inside, he's dealing ruthlessly with his wife.
That is exactly the case. That is exactly the case. In fact, I think this training is supposed to be something that every social worker needs to go through. Because now, going back to my community, I'm already having my plans down. I'm going to involve both the clergies
Yes.
in around the community.
Where you are, yes.
Get the clergies involved, get teachers involved, get community leaders involved, you know, organize a step-down training from what I have learned from here. And with their help, we can now form focal groups.
Correct.
We can now form focal groups in various, maybe smaller communities, villages, that can help us organize women that will do sensitization, town hall meetings, with.
Definitely. I mean, because a lot of what is going on is a lack of critical thinking among the leaders in the villages.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we have had these traditions for thousands of years, but the world has changed. Women are now educated. Women are now able to do a lot of things only men could do. Women are going out there and are working. We prefer male children, but we are now discovering a lot of people who are sincere can see that female children can take care of their old fathers and mothers better now.
Of course, we have seen a lot of it.
Yes, now.
We have seen a lot of people like Ngozo Konjo-Iweala, sir.
Yes.
People like the late, blessed memory, Dora Akunyemi.
Yes.
I don't.
Female children are reaching the zenith of their career, and not only that, I'm saying physically taking care of your sick father. Who can do better, female or male?
Female, of course.
Yes.
Sir, I will give you an example of what happened, though not directly a biological female. But in my own family,
Yes.
when my grandparents became very weak and
Yes.
couldn't do things for themselves again,
Yes.
because they don't have a female child, they were almost left alone.
Yes.
Their male children are all away
Female
until
children.
my mom decided to leave Abuja, where she resides with her husband, and move down to the east to take care of them.
See?
Nobody was
Yes,
doing
it
that.
is female children. So, in terms of, if people thought that, oh, the reason why I prefer male child is that so when I'm old, the person will take care of me, the female children are going to be married out. In today's society, it is clear that it is the female children that will take care of you more. And then, besides, there is the question of dignity that we talked about, which you also started with. Equal dignity of every person. It's not just the usefulness of the person, but the dignity of each person. You know, so I'm happy that you're already making plans, and by the time you end this training, you would have had more tools and skills and mechanisms. And we pray that God will bless you as you spread this message on the fundamental equality and dignity of male and female, and why we should all walk against against any form of sexual and gender-based violence. Before I end, which one do you like the most among the posters? I will speak against gender-based violence. I will speak against sexual violence. I will speak against child abuse. Which one do you love the most?
Yeah, I think I took pictures with all of them.
Oh, you took pictures with all of them?
Yeah, I took pictures with all of them. But I love the one that says I will speak against gender-based violence because
that covers
it
everything.
Covers everything.
Good.
Because this gender-based violence we are talking about is not just all about women.
No.
Men pass through battering in the hands of their wives,
Only
and
that
in society even.
And
because
men do not cry. So
men don't
men
cry.
are ashamed to say it outside.
You know, because there is some situations we also know from the communities where maybe a man have only female children.
Yes.
He don't have mouth to talk in the communal activities.
Is that so?
Yes.
No, that one we must kill that kind of culture.
You know, you will not be able to talk. They will ask you, who are you to talk? You couldn't be able to give your wife a male child. Can you pregnant a woman to get a male child?
So that's a very bad one.
Yes,
and
and it's two ways. Even if you don't have a female child, you might even face the situations where maybe you can't attend things like traditional marriage of other people's daughters. Because if you do, they will ask you, when are we coming to your house to eat?
And now, that is where the Christian approach is very important. The Christian approach says it is God that gives children.
Of course.
So it's not a matter of your power. It's not a matter of your failure. On that note, we'll be bringing this segment of our discussion to an end. I've been speaking to Henry Kelechukwu from Anambra State. He's a community activist. He's an IT specialist, but community activist on all these social issues. And we have been discussing eliminating sexual and gender-based violence. I pray God will bless your work.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.